What if I told you that the Boston Celtics just sidestepped a major threat to their championship aspirations? With the recent blockbuster trade involving De'Aaron Fox heading to the Spurs, the landscape of the Western Conference has shifted, and the Celtics are in a prime position to capitalize. This deal is more than just a transaction. It's a pivotal moment that keeps Boston firmly in the driver's seat as they chase another title. Stick around, because we're diving deep into what this means for our beloved Celtics and why you should be excited about the road ahead. If you want to stay in the loop on everything Celtics, hit that subscribe button and give us a like. Alright, Celtics Nation, let's dive into the latest blockbuster trade that just went down, involving De'Aaron Fox heading to the Spurs, and what it means for our beloved Celtics. As a passionate fan, I can't help but analyze how this impacts our team, both in the short term and long term. The Spurs have made a bold move by acquiring Fox, pairing him with the generational talent Victor Wembanyama. Now, Fox's speed and driving ability should add a whole new dimension to their offense. But let's be real here. While this trade may look like a step forward for San Antonio, I'm not convinced it's going to turn them into a contender overnight. They gave up a few first-round picks and a couple of veterans, but are they really ready to compete? Not in my eyes. This means, for now, the Celtics don't have to worry about the Spurs as they try to build a winning culture around Wemby and Fox. Now, moving on to the Kings. They received Zach LaVine in return for Fox, and while LaVine is having a resurgence this season, I'm not sure he elevates them much. They might stay afloat as a playoff team, but does anyone really see them making some serious noise in the postseason? I don't think so. The Kings are still going to have defensive issues, especially with LaVine and DeMar DeRozan trying to guard anyone. From a Celtics perspective, this is actually a win. Keeping LaVine away from contenders means we're less likely to see him wreaking havoc against us in the playoffs. As for the Bulls, this trade signals a clear shift towards a rebuild. They've decided to tank, and honestly, the Celtics could potentially benefit from this. With the Bulls looking to offload veterans, they might have some intriguing options for us. Imagine if we could snag someone like Nikola Vucevic or even Torrey Craig on the cheap. That would be a savvy move for depth, especially as we gear up for the playoffs. So, what does all this mean for us Celtics fans? Well, in the short term, this trade is actually quite favorable for us. Fox is heading to a team that's not built to compete right now, which means we don't have to worry about another contender emerging. But it's the long-term implications that could have a ripple effect. If the Spurs can successfully build around Wemby and Fox, they could become a force to be reckoned with. That's something we need to keep an eye on in the coming years. Do you think this was the best decision? Honestly, I'm torn. I love seeing the Celtics in a strong position, but I also know that the NBA is a league where things can change quickly. The Spurs could become a problem down the line if they manage to nab a third star. And what about the Kings? They might not be a serious threat now, but they're still capable of surprising us. We all know how quickly things can shift in this league, and as passionate Celtics fans, we need to stay vigilant. The NBA landscape is constantly evolving, and while we're in a great spot now, we need to be aware of potential future threats. As we approach the NBA trade deadline on February 6, 2025, the Boston Celtics find themselves in a fascinating position. With a roster featuring superstars like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis, we're blessed with elite talent. But let's not forget that a championship run requires more than just star power. Depth is crucial, and that's where the conversation around Jaden Springer gets interesting. Springer's journey to Boston hasn't been the smoothest. After being acquired from the Philadelphia 76ers, he's faced challenges in earning consistent playing time. But recent performances, particularly against the LA Clippers, have sparked discussions about his potential. In that game, he stepped up when it mattered most, scoring 8 points, grabbing 2 rebounds, and racking up 4 steals in just 20 minutes. Those clutch three-pointers he hit? They weren't just shots. They were a heartbeat for the team when they needed it. Brian Manning from the Garden Report put it succinctly. He saved himself that night. And I couldn't agree more. That game was a turning point. It showed that if given the right minutes, Springer could evolve into a dynamic, two-way player. His current average of 1.3 points per game might not dazzle on the stat sheet, but the potential is there. Imagine if he could emerge as a reliable scorer off the bench. He could add that much-needed depth to a second unit that sometimes struggles to maintain momentum. But let's be real here. The decision to keep Springer over exploring trades involving Other players like Sam Hauser or Al Horford is a tricky one. Hauser, while a capable shooter, has had his inconsistencies, and given the Celtics' championship aspirations, he might be the one to move. On the other hand, Al Horford, our veteran leader, has shown signs of decline, and his $10 million contract could be a valuable asset if the front office decides to bolster the roster with more immediate contributors. As fans, we want to see our team not just make it to the playoffs but truly contend for a title. So, do you think keeping Springer is the right move? Honestly, I'm torn. He could be the spark we need, but at what cost? If the Celtics decide to pull the trigger on a trade, they could bring in a player who can contribute right now, potentially, giving us the edge we need come playoff time. The stakes couldn't be higher, and every move counts. Keeping Springer could allow for long-term development while maintaining roster flexibility. But balancing that with immediate needs is a fine line to walk. What if he becomes a breakout player just as we're gearing up for a championship push? Imagine the thrill of that scenario. And let's not forget the emotional investment we have as fans. Every decision the front office makes impacts our dreams of a championship. It's about more than just numbers. It's about the hope and excitement that our team can bring to Boston. The trade deadline is looming, and it's a pivotal moment for the Celtics. So I want to hear from you. What do you think? Should the Celtics keep Jaden Springer and invest in his development? Or is it time to look for a more established player who can contribute right away? Join the debate in the comments below. Your opinions matter. And as we navigate these crucial weeks ahead, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel to stay updated on all things Boston Celtics. Activate that notification bell to get all the latest updates, because you won't want to miss a thing as we follow our team's journey through this exciting season.